Hello, Chibbies, and we're back for our last episode of this special limited series of the Grimoire. We're going to be working with Nemamish today on a candle that just never burns properly, and we are cursing our downstairs neighbor again. You're like, oh my god, didn't we just do this a couple of episodes ago? Didn't you say it mostly worked? Well, I needed it to work faster. Because at the time that I was doing this working, even though I had already done the other curse, and even though it was already starting to work, and even though things were starting to happen and move faster, I needed them to move even faster because I wasn't sleeping. Right? Like, you complain to these people, you complain and you complain and you complain and you complain and you complain, and it's like there's only so much they can do, and you want to call the cops, and you just want to freak out, and you want to get mad, and my hair is just very yellow and just not an appropriate blonde color, so just ignore the disgustingness of my hair, okay? It looks like I'm an alcoholic who's been drinking a lot of vodka, and my name is Duff McKagan, and if you don't know what band he's from, then I apologize. Also, if you can hear the screaming outside... Okay, so you remember the old man I was telling you about who, lives below me and is rude and, yelling all the time? Well, guess what he's doing? He's not just outside, but he's across the street. He's about a block away, and I can hear him. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but I can hear him banging on the guitar, screaming and yelling, and it's like, oh my god, I'm in my house, you're physically outside, you're across the street, no one, you're over by the river, and oh my god, I can hear you. Just go away. So that's what this curse was for as well, is because before he would start doing the screaming outside, he would do the screaming in his kitchen, and he would do the banging of the guitar and all of that stuff. And I don't generally have an issue with my neighbors. I know you're like, over the years, Adam, there has been spells that you have done against your neighbors. And the apartment below me is cursed. I mean, we had the crackheads live there, and then we had the crazy lady live there, and now we've got a drunk old man who lives there. And I'm like, every time I put a curse on this place, I am just never going to escape it. I'm never going to escape the fact that there is a curse on the apartment below me, and I could cleanse it. I could send cleansing energy down and cleanse the apartment below me, but I just don't want to do that. And he's a stubborn old man. If you tell him to be quiet, he won't answer the door for anybody that isn't either the landlord or the building managers themselves, okay? So he won't answer the door for anybody. So you can't go down there at 2 o'clock in the morning and bang on his door, right? That's just Jesus fucking Christ. So, and he's not as bad nowadays during the pandemic and all that, because he came so close to an eviction. So close. So many times he's come so close. And there's always something. There's either an issue or there's a reason he can't be evicted. And it's like, I just gotta work those magics a little bit stronger. I also wanted to mention that every time I do magics on this guy, to get him out, it's like the spirits or the demons, in this case Nemamish, is like, okay, well, first we gotta get him noisy, and we gotta get lots of noise complaints, and that whole part works, right? So it's a double-edged sword in this particular case, because for him to get out, he's gotta be noisy, he's gotta be loud, he's gotta be crazy, he's gotta be disruptive to other people, and that's kind of the intentions I put in, because I wanted everybody in the building to hear him, everybody in the building to make complaints. And like I said in a previous video, 51 complaints is a lot of noise complaints against you, and when you're telling people to fuck off, or you're telling them to go to hell, or you're yelling at them, or whatever, and it's like, how many chances does this guy get, right? So I'm just tired of it. I'm just sick and I'm tired of it, so I would do magics to get rid of him. So let's take a moment and put some intentions into this particular candle, and I'll be right back. So remember, I always poke holes into these types of candles. Even these crappy dollar store jar candles, right? I always poke holes into them to get the oil to go down, because if you just put the oil on top, right, you're just putting the oil on top and you're putting a few herbs, A, that could cause a fire hazard, and B, it could crack the jar, and then you start thinking all sorts of things about, did it work? Is this working? Like, what does this mean? Do I do it again? And even though these types of candles never burn cleanly for me, it's the energy that I can read off of them instead of the wax or the color of the jar. Because again, these types of candles, they never burn cleanly, so you can never rely on the wax on the jar or in the candle or the burn marks or the smoke or anything like that that we typically use on jar magic to read, like jar candle magic, not just regular jar magic. But in this particular case, what you have to do after this is you have to kind of hold, this is what I do with these types of candles, is I hold the jar and I just kind of reach out and see, you know, what is the signs here? Did this work? Did this not work? And this worked as well. I have a cursing dust here that we're using. It's not the same protection stuff that we made in the last video. It's a different blend that we use for cursing people and getting rid of them and getting them out of our space and getting them away from us. It is black because it's a darker cursing powder that I made with Ashtaroth. I don't use, as contrary to popular belief, and as much as we've seen on my YouTube over the last few years, I don't put or I don't curse as much as you might think I do. I do a lot of other magics, mostly money, protection, a little bit of love here or there. So let's just continue putting some intentions in. Okay, now that we're done that, let's put a little bit of our demon incense in here, which I also use as a candle dressing. It's just a way to let Nebuchadnezzar know that this is working. I want to use her energies in this working. I want to call upon her, all of that fun stuff. And I like to pat the candle around just to get all that stuff into the holes, spread it out a bit, so that, you know, it doesn't cause a fire hazard. Because resin is really easy to set on fire. Okay, resin, incense, any kind of resin, doesn't matter what it is. A quick experiment for you to do, in a fireproof container, take some of your resin that you really like, just a little bit, ground it up really well, and then take a lighter or a match and just light it on fire, and you will see that it will burn. And so if you have a lot of resin or whatnot on your candles or in your jar magics, it could set on fire, and it could crack the jar and wax could get everywhere, especially if you're the type of witch. For some reason, a lot of us are doing this. I don't do this as much or very rarely, is we like to leave these types of candles burning overnight on our altars. We think it's safe. They're in a jar. They can burn overnight. I know the Blue Witch does this a lot with her jar candles and whatnot. But, you know, lots of witches tend to do that, and that can actually be very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I don't tend to leave these types of candles burning overnight at all. I tend to allow them to just burn, and then when I need to go to bed or I need to leave the house or I need to do something that's not going to have me physically at the altar, then I will blow out the candle. I don't find it offensive. I don't find it rude. I don't find it inappropriate to blow out a candle. Most of the time I say, hey, I'm going to put this candle out, I will relight it, and when I do relight it, I put some of those intentions back in, and I call upon the spirits, because when you blow out a candle, the spirits are going to leave. They're not just going to stand there and wait. Like, Nebuchadnezzar isn't going to sit there and wait for me to relight the candle again, right? So I'm going to end this video here, at least in terms of me talking, and I'm going to let you guys just enjoy the rest of the video. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed the series. I hope that you guys enjoyed the grimoire. I hope that you guys enjoyed my rambling. And until next time, my fabulous little Scoobies.